Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks everybody for jumping in. So today we are going to do a webinar on Altair Monarch for Microsoft Excel users, and really looking at how do we extend the capabilities of Microsoft Excel, especially for the data analytics personality. And today we've got the specialist from Altair for Altair Monarch, Baba, who's going to go through the tool, show you a little bit about it, and really talk about the benefits of using Altair Monarch, especially if you're a person who's using that every single day. So again, thanks for jumping in, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Baba to go ahead and jump in.
Awesome. Thanks, Tyler. Can you all hear me? I'm doing just doing a mic check.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for that, Tyler. Nice to meet you all. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on what time of day it is where you are. Let me share my screen, and we'll jump right into this. So let's see, share. Okay, there it is. Okay, let me put this in full screen. And, okay. Can you see a PowerPoint slide now?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right. Very good. Let me hide this. Awesome. All right. Well, as Tyler mentioned, my name's Baba. I work at Altair, the company that owns the Monarch software. I suppose the one thing I'll mention about myself is that once upon a time, I used to be a customer myself. I used the software within the banking industry for 7 years, but it really wasn't until the last 4 of those years that I really started to uh, learn about how to use the software, and particularly with Excel-based processes. So I'm going to go through a very quick overview about the product at a high level, just in case there's anyone who's new to the software for the first time. So we'll go through this for about, I don't know, 5, maybe 7 minutes. And then I'm going to walk through an example related to Monarch for Excel. And as much as possible, I want to cover in that example the um, sort of day-to-day things that anyone who's using Excel might be covering, might be doing with Excel, and show you how Monarch does those things more efficiently, and even covering some of those things that even Excel might not be able to do as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive right in. Um, eh, okay, so what is Monarch? So it's a desktop application. We call it a standalone data preparation application. So you could use it to capture data from many different sources, text to PDF files, databases, Excel files, so on and so forth. Cleanse and prepare your data, and then finally export it out to a variety of different formats or even systems. Now, why is Monarch in particular unique? So this is something that we've been known for many years since we started, and it's what we do with computer generated reports. So those could be trial balances, aging reports. So we have a really rich history with working with those types of reports, and we still continue to work with those today. Um, uh, this is a very I won't spend a lot of time on this slide, but this just talks about all of the products within the family of Monarch. So at the desktop level, there are actually 2 applications. There's the Classic, which we've been known for ever since we started. So that's great for that original use case of, hey, I have a report, an invoice, a trial balance report or whatever, and I just want to extract the data out of that report. The Data Prep Studio, on the other hand, is the new kid on the block, and we launched that in 2015. So it's not even 10 years old yet. But this is where you can really use it to combine data from multiple sources. So as you can imagine, this is what we're going to be looking at today when we talk about working with Excel files. Probably out of scope for our conversation today, but there are server products. Ultimately, they help you automate the things that you've designed at the desktop level. Okay, so this slide right here is relatively important because it talks about the right way to think about Monarch. And so on the left over here, you have an example of the kinds of systems. It's certainly not an exhaustive list, but an example of the kinds of systems that generate these reports, across different industry verticals. Now, on the other side, on the right side, which is what we'll be talking about today, is these systems that generate spreadsheets or CSV files, or you have a database you can connect to. And so most people don't think about Monarch when it comes to these kind of files. Um, but as you'll see today, there's really a lot of unique capabilities that we have when working with those files. Okay, so we're going to talk so almost done here with these slides. So now we're going to talk specifically about Monarch for Excel. And I already talked about this a little bit. And the best way to think about it is, what is it that you can do in Monarch that you can't do in Excel? And what is it that Monarch can do more efficiently or more effectively than in Excel? So that's the those are really the two questions. Um, I'm going to skip through this because I already talked about it. But in the event or that there's anybody who's used Monarch before, um, this is how the software, a popular use of the software. Someone would bring in a report. Monarch would, help. They would create models or workspaces, or really models, export that data into Excel, and then when they have it in Excel, they would do their VLOOKUPs, pivot tables, cleansing, calculated fields, maybe even macros. The point is of what I'm going to show you today in this Data Prep Studio is that you can do the entirety of that work in the Data Prep Studio. And so the couple key reasons you want to do that is it's automation. It becomes an automated process. It's streamlined. It's visual because you can follow the work that someone's done, and there's an audit trail. Okay, so that is really it. So this is a list here of um, some of the key criteria is where we would really compare Monarch to Excel. I'm not going to go through every single one of these. Um, we'll provide we can certainly provide the slides, but we also have an Excel file document, ironically, where we compared, kind of going into a little more detail, comparing Monarch to Excel. And again, I'm not going to bore you with the details. I'll call out these key differentiators as we walk through that real life example. I suppose one or two of the things that I might call out now is when you import a file into Monarch, an Excel file or a CSV file, Monarch instantly brings it in as a database. That's very subtle, but it's very important because you don't have to worry about little things like when you're doing a VLOOKUP or you're doing a sum statement, you constantly have to update the range where your data is. So Monarch instantly does that. On the preparation side, there's all kinds of pre-built functions. Sorry, all kinds of pre-built functions. Close my Teams. Okay, there's all kinds of pre-built functions where Monarch automates those things. And then the last thing is the actual automation itself, where, sorry, I thought I had logged out. Sign out. Okay, there we go. So anyway, let's dive right in. So I will skip through this and let's talk about the actual demonstration itself. I'm just doing a mic check. Can you guys still hear me? Tyler?
Yep, still here. Yep.
Okay, good. I didn't work on my animations here. So this is what we're going to walk through right now. And I have I have 3 months of sales data in Excel files, January, February, March. and I want to combine those three files so that I have my year-to-date sales, and then I want to combine it to some tax rates so that I can create my sales tax. Similarly, I have those same three files, so my year-to-date sales, and I have another Excel file, which is my inventory master file. And what I want to do is I want to identify, okay, of all the items that have been sold, are there any items that have been sold that are not on my inventory master? Okay, so when we do this, this is what the end result's going to look like, right? It looks complicated, but you're going to see me build this from scratch, and you're going to see how this becomes an automated process. Okay. Um, okay. So let me end the show, and let's go ahead and get started. All right. So move this over here. Okay. And all right. So here's my folder where I have my files, and I'm going to start with the sales files. I'm going to start with January, February, and March. All right. So I'm going to drag and drop these files in here. When you drag and drop multiple Excel files or CSV files, it brings you to this preview stage first. I could preview them if I wanted, so I could click on any of these files and preview them. One of the nice things about the preview stage is that it really gives you the ability to, profile your data, really understand your data. So, for example, I can see on media, I can see a quick distribution of the data there. I can see values that, these numbers tell me how many unique values there are per column. If I had any nulls, if I had nulls in any of these columns, you would have seen an exclamation mark just to notify me, hey, just FYI, you have some nulls in these columns. And as you see, as I click on any of these columns, Monarch is updating this visual distribution for that. Now the default is to count descending. There's other things I can count ascending. I can change it to value ascending, so on and so forth. But it's just a very helpful way for you to profile and understand your data. Similar thing if I click on this customer field. And then you have all kinds of other statistical information that's really important. Okay, so honestly, I don't spend that much time on this, especially if it's a file that you're already familiar with, but this can be very helpful. And so when you compare this to Excel, when you're trying to profile your data in Excel, I mean, you have to jump through a couple of hoops. You got to do pivot tables, multiple different pivot tables. This gives you one easy view to just very easily navigate through your data. Okay, so I'm going to load these in. So I'm going to click Open Selected. So Monarch brings in all of those files. Now, remember, I said I want to combine these so that I have my year-to-date sales as one table. So I can actually hold Control, highlight these three tables, right-click, and you see I have append options. So if I click Create New Append, if these tables are structured exactly the same way, meaning all the column headers are the same, the format, the type is the same, the data type is the same, Monarch will automatically map the columns. It'll pick one table as your target schema, and it'll automatically map those columns. Now, if they don't match, you can always manually adjust them. Like for example, if one spreadsheet was called media, and then in another one it was called, I don't know, media description or something, you could also just manually adjust them. I'm going to check this box here, and I'm going to click OK. And right away, Monarch has appended those files and created one unified table for me. And I now have a checkbox here. That when I check that box, this is telling me that these records are coming from the January file. If I keep going, these are coming from the February file, March file, so on and so forth. Okay, so give me a second here. Let me see what else, if there's anything else. Okay, so I have a bunch of operations I want to do here before I bring in the spreadsheet that has the tax data. So first I want to clean up these names. I just want to get rid of that $sign. And then over here, I'm going to call this year-to-date sales just year-to-date sales. Now over here, I want to clean up these columns a little bit. So the first thing I want to do is I want to separate the month from this date. So if I click on this drop down and I go to split, I'm going to split time into parts. And I just want the month in its own column. So I click OK. Now if you notice, Monarch recorded that change over here in this change history. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to create a column that will always tell me what quarter this is. So, January, February, March, that's Q1. So if I come here and I go to column and I go to new lookup column and I import those fields, and let's say I add a couple more, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and then I'm going to say, whoops, Q1. Oops. All right, so I'm just creating this lookup table for me so that I can, when I aggregate this data, I can aggregate them by quarter. You can also do a formula. So I could have done a conditional if statement formula for this as well. But I just wanted to show you this this option. Okay, and then I'm going to call this quarter. Okay. Okay. All right. There we go. So again, Monarch continues to track those changes. Now the next change over here, this one's going to be a little interesting. So for my tax rates, I'm only looking at tax rates in the USA. All right. So I want to separate these by country. So what I can do is I can split from the right. Okay, and it's just doing it for the automatically for the first column. I click OK. Now I'm going to rename this column and call this country. Now I'm going to filter for just USA. So I'm going to say I want just the USA. US. Now that I have US, I want to separate the states because my taxes I'm going to be looking at them by state. So I'm going to click on this drop down and I'm going to split it again into parts from the right by 3, and I only want the state. All right. State. Okay. Now, when I discard all my filters, what you'll see is Monarch has it's done exactly what I want. It's separated the country for me, so I have that in its own column, and it's also separated the states only for the US, which is exactly what I wanted as well. Okay, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to format these date columns here. All right, so I'm going to take my to date, my from date, and my report date. I don't want them to have this midnight stamp. I just want them to be just the date, short date. Okay. Then I'm going to format my. Okay, so if I forgot this other one, so I can take that change. So you see, it recorded those changes when I formatted those dates as short date. I can actually drag and drop that change right here to ship date as well. Okay, there we go. Last thing here, I'm going to format these as currency. Okay. All right. So again, Monarch has kept a track of all these changes. And if I wanted, I could save. If I had these changes already saved somewhere, I could import them, or I could export these changes and save them. Okay, so almost done here. Next thing is to bring in this tax rates file. Okay, and right now I'm just working with these files as regular files. We do have another feature called the Excel worksheet design. If there's a little bit of time, I might show you that. But right now I'm just working with these files as regular Excel files. I'm gonna click no. I'm gonna load this one in. And here is my spreadsheet of the tax rates. Okay, so now I'm going to combine. I want to join my year-to-date sales to the tax rates. And I click to join. So one of the powerful things about Monarch compared to Excel is that we have up to 9 types of joins you can do. So we have 4 standard joins, inner join, left join, right join, full join. Then we have lookups, so you could go left or right. And then very powerful, we have these negative joins. Okay, so I'm going to show you an example of the lookup, which is what I'm going to do right now. But then I'm going to show you the negative join when we do the last part of this exercise. So when you join, it's easier in that you don't have to write code. You just pick and choose. So in this instance, I'm going to join on state and the state abbreviated here. So both in both of those files, it's this 2-letter state. Okay. Then once you've established your join, then you just pick and choose. You say, well, I don't need these two. I only want to bring over the tax rates. Okay, so I'm gonna call this year-to-date sales with tax. Okay, so I'm gonna click OK. So right away, you see Monarch has established that join and it's creating a visual of that. So it's showing you, hey, I had these started with these 3 files, you appended them to this one table, and now I've joined it to this tax rates to create this table. So I'm gonna come back here to prepare. And if I scroll all the way over to the right, sure enough, you can see that the tax rates have come over. Okay, I can format these as percentage. Okay, and then I'm going to create a formula to basically say, you know, amount times that tax rate. So if I click on column, new formula column, I'm going to call it tax amount. Okay, and I'm going to now I'm actually going to do an if statement. So I'm going to say if and then is null. All right, so if the tax rate is null, then just give me the amount. So it's just going to give me the amount for those non-US countries. Otherwise, give me the tax rates um, times the amount. So the bottom line here is when you think about formulas that you do that you do in Excel, um, the vast majority of the functionality of what you want to do related to formulas, you can do them here in Monarch. The syntax will be different, be a little different because Monarch just has a little different syntax, but the logic's all here. So you're doing if statements with or, if statements with and there's some other nifty things that we have like in and not, or not in. Okay, so I just wanted that's the main point when it comes to formulas. Okay, there it is. I'm going to format this as currency. Okay, now I'm going to do one last thing here, and then I'm going to bring in the related to this year-to-date sales, and then I'm going to bring in that inventory master file. So I just added the word analyze here in parentheses because I'm going to come here to this analyze tab. And here in this analyze tab, I'm going to create a nice aggregated summary. Okay, so I'm going to click on the plus sign here, and I'm going to call this, by media with subtotal. Okay, so this is creating a summary in Monarch. It's kind of like creating pivot table views. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So I'm going to build this. I want to group it by the quarter. I want to group it by this to date month, and I want to group it by the table name. I also want to group it by the media. Yeah, that's it. And then I want, for my calculated fields, I want the amount and the tax amount. I can add a count as well. Next, I'm going to add some coloring and some highlighting. So watch this. So I'm going to click on this quarter. I'm going to come to layout, add a subtotal line. And the purpose of what I'm doing is just to show you that there, you can create a nice looking report here in Monarch where, again, anything that would save you time having to recreate something in Excel. So I want that black. I want this white. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the table name here. Okay. And white. And then the last one is the grand total. Blue. Okay, so when I click OK, you see now I've created a relatively nice looking report that someone can read and consume. They can look at this and say, okay, well, I see the subtotal for January, I see the subtotal for February, I see the subtotal for March, I see the Q1 subtotal, and there's the grand total. Okay, all right. So the last part of this, so these, and you could build multiple of these. I could build additional views, but to press forward, if I come back here to the prepare, the last part of this exercise is I have my inventory master file. So in my inventory master file, I want to figure out, from everything that's been sold here today, I want to figure out what's not on my inventory master, so we can get that inventory master updated. Okay, so I'm going to come here and I'm going to group this information here by unique items. So I'm going to go to group by label number, and I guess the description, and I'm going to sum the amount. So I'm going to call this unique items sold. Okay, so now I have a unique list of all the items that were sold. Okay, I mentioned earlier that there's that preview stage. You can kind of go back to it, so to speak. But if I click on show statistics, this kind of takes me back to that preview stage where I can see, I have one instance for each of these records and so on and so forth. Okay. All right. So here's my list of unique items sold. I'm going to bring in this inventory master file. I'm going to drag and drop that in. Click no. Load selected. Okay. So here's my inventory master file. I'm going to clean up the name here a little. And before I join this, I want to make sure I don't have any duplicates on this file, or I want to remove them. So if I click on transform and click on duplicates, you see that we have a bunch of options. I can remove duplicates, I can have it show me the duplicates, or I can have it flag duplicates. So let's just say I flag them as an example based on label number, and you could click on multiple fields. So just label number. I'm gonna call this inventory master. Yeah. So when I do it this way, you see Monarch creates a column and it shows me right away where I have duplicates. Okay. At least based on the label number. But again, just for the interest of time, I really want to just to tell it to show me that to remove duplicates and keep all the unique records. So I don't know if you saw that starting at the first record, there's 183, and then it drops to 176. Okay. Okay, so now to finish this off, I need to combine these two files. So if I click combine, I double click on this unique item sold, and I double click on inventory master, and I click to join. Now this time we're doing a negative join. I want Monarch to show me all of the files that are on this item sold table, so focusing on this table, that are not on the inventory master. Okay, so I'm going to call this not on inventory master. Okay. Is that right? Yeah, that should be right. Oh, I haven't established the join. I'm joining on label number and label number. Okay, there we go. So I click OK, and there they are. So if I come back here to prepare, there it is. Monarch is instantly identified for me these 3 records that were sold that are not on the inventory master. Now watch this. So I mean, I'm basically done, right? But I want to show you something. Let's say I developed this process. So I would save this and it would be saved as a workspace. So going forward, when I have a new month, right? When I have a new month, so now I have April, I just bring in the April file here and I load it in. So here's my April file. And then when I click here, I go to this option that's called Edit Children, and I double click and add it, and I'm done. So when I come back here to this table and I click on that Analyze, you see Monarch has instantly added April, and it's grouped it by Q2. Right. So as I get new spreadsheets for the rest of the year, Monarch's automatically done. It's already automatically updated the process. Then what's this last part? So I identified that these are the 3 that are not in my inventory master. Well, easy. I just copy this and I'm going to open up that inventory master and I'm going to update it. I'm going to add those 3 files. Let's just say their unit price is, I don't know, $9.99. And I save it and I close it. And if I refresh this is a refresh all button. When I refresh all, what will happen is Monarch will reread all of these tables. It'll reread the inventory master spreadsheet, and it'll identify that, okay, well, these records are now on this uh, inventory master file. And so what I want is for this to be blank. I want it to be 0, because that way I know that everything that's on my inventory master is also or sold. So when I refresh all, we should see these disappear. There they go. They're gone. There we go. So uh, quite honestly, that is the bulk of what I wanted to show you. There are a couple other things. In the interest of time, the last thing I'll show you. So this is my already completed one, but you can export all this data. So if I were exporting this, we have a bunch of options: Excel, Access, CSV. But I have some exports already set up, and I want to show you the exported results. So I think I already have them. Yeah, so here's the exported result from Monarch, right? And I exported 1 file. So if I open up this file, you're going to see a couple things that came directly out of Monarch. First is that summary table, right? It's exactly, a nice clean looking report that maybe someone in senior management would, they would rather look at this as to, somebody who's a little more in the weeds would be fine looking at this detail table. We also exported that list where we identified those items that were missing or not on the inventory master. And then this is the full table. And check this out. This is a pivot table. So within Monarch, on the export, you can actually design your pivot table. So here, I think I did it on this one. Under the advanced, when you're exporting a table in Excel, there's a checkbox where you can add a pivot table and you can build it. So that saves you, again, if there's a pivot table that you normally build when you're working with multiple spreadsheets, well, just have Monarch automate that as a part of your process, right? Just have it be something that's automated. Okay, so like I said, that's the bulk of what I wanted to show you. There is one last thing, but I wanted to stop first and see, um, if anyone has any questions um, around, Monarch for Excel. Okay, let me show you the last thing, which is the worksheet design. So, we're seeing this in some of the newer versions or new instances of ERP applications. And by this, I mean spreadsheets that look uh, spreadsheets that look like this. Has anyone seen spreadsheets that come out looking like this? If you want to, maybe raise your virtual hand. Um, Here's another one for Oracle NetSuite. Here's a accounts payable report looking like this. Okay, all right. I see one thumbs up, right? So you get these spreadsheets that come out looking like this. Um, there's another one here I wanted to show you. Or you might get spreadsheets that look like yeah, here we go. Or any of these types of spreadsheets if my Excel preview thing will work with me. Or here's another one, or there's one in particular. Is it this one? I think it's this one. Or something like this. Okay, but anyway, I think you guys already you already gave me the thumbs up, right? So we have a feature in Monarch where we can work with these kinds of reports, fairly uniquely. So if I click on Add and I go to Spreadsheet and I click on Worksheet Design, well, here's that spreadsheet. So if I click on this spreadsheet, oh, of course, I have to close it. Okay. So if I click on Add Spreadsheet and I click on the spreadsheet, essentially what we've done is we took our unique capabilities of working with spreadsheets, text files, uh, what we call trapping and worksheet design in report design. We basically brought those capabilities here into Excel. So um, if it's a fairly structured report, and most reports are pretty well structured, some are a little more challenging. I can click on a sample record. You see this every time I click on this line, it highlights a sample record, and then I can just click Add Columns. And so right away, Monarch is leveraging what we call an auto-define function to capture the data from that report. And then I can modify it. Right? I could say, well, don't include this column. There's no data there. And don't include this column either. Okay. Then I would click on this row that has all my headers, and I would say define headers. And right away, it's automatically detected all those headers and then added them. Now, if I didn't like this, and I wanted to modify it, you can do that. We call them adding rules. So you could add rules to capture the data from these different uh, spreadsheets. Now, when I hit accept, what you'll notice is that I have some dynamic options, right? So if I had, excuse me, right now it's looking at just the first sheet. But if I had multiple sheets where all this data was, I would say, hey, apply this to all the sheets. Or if the data I'm working with is always on the first sheet, it would apply this logic and just capture the data from that first sheet. Similarly, if it was the last sheet. And I don't think I've ever used this one, sheet by number. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it as first sheet, and I click OK, and there it is. Monarch has captured all of that data and structured it from that spreadsheet. Um, so that was the last thing I wanted to show you guys in terms of, you know, the ease of use of working with, some of these difficult uh, spreadsheets. Okay, so I'll stop and see if there's any questions. Um, if not, I might have a couple questions for you guys, but I'll let you guys go first as far as questions. Okay, so I have a couple questions, and I suppose you could just answer them in the chat, or if you'd like, you could I guess you could come off mute. The first question I have is, um, you know, do you are you working when you're working with spreadsheets, are they coming out of any particular system of record within your environment, like an I don't know, like an Oracle system or SAP or a banking system? Just curious what if you're working with spreadsheets that do come out of systems. Okay, okay, yeah. All right, hey Andrea. Yes, so the reason I asked that question is, what you're seeing is a list. This is a list of our, uh, we call it our Monarch Model Library list. This is a list of the different systems where we have, okay, crystal reports. Okay, this is a list of systems that we have what we call pre-built templates. Really they're called models and workspaces. And so, okay, Epicor. Okay, yeah, very good. Yeah. Okay, very good. So I have a couple examples. Thanks you guys for sharing a couple. So this list is not exhaustive. It continues to grow. We continue to add new templates and use cases. At the very bottom of the page, we have a couple of use cases that we've profiled from this library. So I'm going to talk about a couple, real use cases. I'm going to focus primarily on the ones that are, I guess, Excel based. Did see someone mention Epicor. Uh, Tara, is that Epicor Eagle or a different Epicor system? Profit 21. Okay, all right. I've heard of that one. I don't have All right, so let's walk through a couple spreadsheet example ones. Um, so no, this isn't a spreadsheet one. Um, well, let me start with one of my favorite ones on the healthcare side, and then I'll jump around to some other ones. So this is a use case on the healthcare side, and in this particular use case, I was working with a healthcare customer, and they had these two large spreadsheets. So one spreadsheet, both spreadsheets were approximately 200,000 records. So they would get one from their essentially their ERP, which is this Oracle Sorian financial system, and it was a list of all their outstanding, uh, you know, AR balances, and they had contracted out to multiple collections vendors, and so one of these collection vendors, one of the larger ones, would send them their copy of this 200,000 records. So the revenue integrity analyst had to combine these two spreadsheets and compare and contrast, basically identify, hey, which patients are outstanding on our system, which patients are outstanding again, with our collections vendor, who's on our list that's not on theirs, all this kind of stuff. It used to take them 2 hours just to combine those two spreadsheets. I mean, little things like creating a column to join the other, across the two spreadsheets, trying to identify and remove duplicates. So even something as simple as that in Excel can be really challenging when you have 200,000 records. So, bottom line is we took that whole 2-hour process, we created it, we recreated it, if you will, in Monarch, and Monarch runs through the whole process in 2 minutes. So what you're looking at here is that completed workspace where, you know, um, they plug in their ERP financials spreadsheet here, the spreadsheet that comes from their third-party vendor, and Monarch goes through all those steps, and it creates for them what used to take 2 hours. Now, part of the efficiency there is, and then one of the benefits is Monarch doesn't have those capacity issues, right? Where you're trying to remove duplicates, you're working with 200,000 records. You could even be working with 5 million records. Um, I did some work with a banking customer in the Midwest, and they had a 9 million record data set, and they were able to open and use that file right here in Monarch. Okay, let me find one more example on a spreadsheet one. Um, this is a really good one, but it's another healthcare one. Let me find another a non-healthcare one. Let's see. This one. Okay, so taxes. So this one, mostly Excel. There were some reports that were actual reports, but for the most part, this was an Excel process where, um, again, I was working with this tax accountant, and she had to create her inventory roll forward. And it used to take, even with our classic application where she was getting data out of these reports, it used to take her eight. It used to take her 8 hours at month end. So we took her 8-hour process down to about 10 minutes. And so we did that using these two processes. So the first process is we use Monarch to help her create a trusted source of sort of her master items, uh, master list of items that could be sold across 9 different warehouses that they had across their company. So, that was one of the first things we did. Then that spreadsheet feeds into this second workspace file. And when she drops in the reports for her beginning inventory, ending inventory, all those different files that she needs, even intercompany sales, Monarch joins all that data to her master spreadsheet, and we actually join in multiple criteria. So one of the other benefits, I didn't really didn't really touch. I guess I did it, but I didn't really call it out. But when you do a join, you can join on multiple criteria. So right now I joined on state. If I wanted to join on, I don't know, amount and something else, you could keep going. So in that particular example, we actually joined on multiple criteria. Like we joined on the product code, we joined on the warehouse, we joined on, just to make sure that you're joining on the exact right criteria. That's really difficult in Excel when you're trying to do a VLOOKUP or something, and you have multiple criteria that you have to join on. That's an example of where, hey, in Monarch it's really easy. You just keep clicking on the multiple fields you need to join on. So yeah, anyway, so we joined in all those fields, and then we were able to help her automate the creation of her roll forward. Let's see, the last one. Actually, this is a good one. So I haven't done any. I haven't not any, but I haven't done it. Well, I haven't done any work recently within the education vertical, but we do have a lot of customers that use Monarch for the Ellucian banner system. I think also for colleague. But this is an example where uh, the I think he was the VP of budget, and he had this, he had to create the monthly budget for the different department heads for them to review, and it was a pretty challenging process in Excel. And so here, um, we're able to just very quickly take those two spreadsheets, join them, aggregate them, and also create kind of created that nice looking summary by the department and by there was something else we grouped it on, but basically we created something like this. And so on the one hand, Monarch is not as flexible as Excel in terms of highlighting and maybe creating spaces, but what you lose in that more aesthetics, you gain in the automation, in the fact that Monarch can uh, automate the process for you. I suppose because it's really popular, I would be remiss, I guess, if I didn't talk about Workday. I only have one process right here, but bottom line is, you know, we uh, we're starting to do a little bit more work with Workday, but same idea. Monarch. This is just a very simple example where I was working with a customer, and they also in healthcare, they had a trial balance report, and they just wanted to aggregate it, have it aggregated by a bunch of cost centers, and it was difficult because it came out looking like one of those reports I showed, where it was the data you got to deal with all kinds of issues where the data comes out of these systems and it's spaced. Let me show you. I think I do have a sample of that one. I think this is it. Yeah, there we go. So when you get a spreadsheet that comes out like this, there's a lot of manual work to maybe delete columns you don't need, tell it where the records start and all that kind of stuff. So um, Monarch can automate all that. You know. Okay. All right. So let me stop. I know I've talked a lot. So I wanted to at least maybe talk about some of those use cases. Um, well, let me ask you guys: was this helpful? Did you maybe see something that was helpful, or was there something maybe you would have liked to see? Just so we can get some feedback on, future sessions. Okay, cool. All right. Well, you know where to find us, Tyler and team. Feel free to reach out to them if you have, I guess, any follow-up questions. And yeah, we'll be more than happy to. Okay, thanks, Stephen. Yeah, we'll be more than happy to help if you have any follow-up questions. If you are an existing customer, definitely I would say reach out to Tyler and the team so we can maybe talk about maybe how you can leverage some of the stuff we have pre-built in our model library. Okay, Tyler, I'll hand it back over to you. I don't know if there's anything you want to
Yeah.
cover before we
That was fantastic.
wrap up.
Thank you again for doing that. For everybody who registered and for everybody who joined, we will be sending out an email with the recording of the webinar today. So if you have any questions, please let us know. We're happy to jump in and help with whatever you need. But great job, Baba. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, and yeah, looking forward to helping any way we can.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
All right then. Bye, everyone.